Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today we are looking at yet another German ship, the Tier 10 scout cruiser, the Elbing. Yes, I know Wargaming calls it a destroyer, but really it isn't. First of all, this thing is the size of a cruiser, and also the armament is rather interesting. So let's take a look and see what these things are like. And given that there's absolutely no real indication as to where these ships are coming from, these are completely made up as far as I know, we're just going to jump straight into doing some comparison. The obvious comparison is that we have to make with the Soviet Tier 10 scout cruiser, the Khabarovsk. And that'll give us some hint as to what the Elbing is capable of. Now, the Elbing gets 3 smokes and gets a defensive AA, whereas the Khabarovsk is obviously more of a run and gun sort of ship with the rapid reload and the engine boost. The Elbing has a decent hit point pool for a scout cruiser of 26,000. The armor overall is slightly weaker though than, for example, on the Kaba. The speed also isn't particularly great with 35 knots. The maneuverability still beats out the Kaba though, because the Khabarovsk has a worse maneuverability than things like the Minotaur. The British Tier 10, well, it's technically a destroyer, really. The guns is where it gets interesting. So this line split has effectively moved all the old Tech Tree destroyers to 128mm guns, which are technically better than the 150s, even though they're not as meme-worthy, and has given these ships relatively large guns. So unlike the 130s that you find on the Kaba, you will have 150mm guns. She's got a very good range with over 11 kilometers. And obviously the German armor piercing on these guns. The high explosive is complete garbage. So just forget about it. The Elbing has what can, by all intents and purposes, be described as sea mines. Because these are, by a fair margin, the slowest torpedoes in the game. You effectively dunk them into the water and then hope that somebody bumbles into them, which, in my opinion, is the definition of a sea mine. So, the Elbing is effectively a mine layer. These are pretty much the same torpedoes that we've seen so far. We get 10 of them. They have a longer reload than previously, but have a torpedo range of 10.5 kilometers. So, obviously, torpedo-wise, she somewhat outdoes the Khabarovsk, which is no surprise because Soviet torpedoes are absolutely dreadful, even though they are faster. Now, the Elbing has some AA, but even with the defensive AA, and that is a defensive AA2, so it'll double these values, it's not going to be able to she's not going to be able to hold her own against enemy air wings, obviously. And the concealment is not great, but still a little bit better than on the Khabarovsk. The other ship I've got out for comparison here is the Daring. Why am I having the Daring? Because the Daring is an actual destroyer and not a scout cruiser. And there's a very interesting thing here. So if you're looking at the main guns, and you see that the Elbing has 150mm, and the Daring obviously has the 113mm, relatively low caliber, dual purpose guns. That said, because of the 6-second base reload on the Elbing, you obviously, with 6 guns, have a theoretical alpha DPS of 726, which is what the armor piercing does. If you do the same math for the Daring, it'll be over 800. The Elbing actually does get outgunned by destroyers, and that's where it gets a little funky. Because the second problem that the Elbing has is, well, the armor piercing. Now you'd say, hang on, Terry, 726 alpha damage on 150mm armor piercing is going to shred enemy destroyers. No, because these 150mm guns have so much penetration that they are just flat out over-penetrating destroyers unless you're shooting at them at long range. And hitting destroyers at long range isn't particularly easy, especially if they're, not sitting still, which in Tier 10 most destroyer players have learned the hard way, or the easy way, if they figured it out by themselves earlier, that sitting still in the destroyer is a very bad idea, especially since the introduction of things like the Italian battleships, which, by the way, for something that's relatively unmaneuverable and relatively poorly armored and large as the Elbing, seem to be taking particular delight on just outright deleting me in that thing. Which obviously is what the Cristoforo Colombo is made for, but still, you constantly have to have your head on a swivel that you're not getting targeted by one of those things from the other end of the map. But so yeah, the Elbing is not a destroyer. Is not a destroyer hunter, not at all. She doesn't have any utility. There's no hydro, and at close range, the armor piercing is just going to overpenetrate most of the time. Which, since you can't citadel destroyers, is well, not particularly helpful. What the armor piercing does, though, is citadel Yamatos at long range through the deck armor. Because that's just how things work in the game. So this is a long range ship. This is effectively an AP spammer. So what you want to do in this ship, you want to sit at long range and spam AP, preferably at cruisers or battleships, because you can hit them reliably at long range. And the AP is actually doing a lot of damage at long range. So, and you can drop your sea mines into the water and see if anybody sails into them. But yeah, don't try to hit destroyers with these things, because even if they don't spot them in time, they can just literally drive circles around your sea mines, because, you know, they 15 knots. There are destroyers which are faster than that in the game. The French destroyers can literally just run away from them. So, all right. So, given all these things, how have I set her up? It's sort of a cruiser, but it's also sort of not. So I have gone with the main battery mod 1 because, well, turret traverse is what you sort of want. And because you do need to dodge, you can't really tank anything, obviously, in these things. I have slot 2 on steering because the base rudder shift is on the sluggish side of things. It's not as bad as in the Kaba, but it is reasonably sluggish. That leaves the third slot free for concealment. This is not a ship you necessarily want to rush caps in. The problem is you're still technically flagged as a destroyer, so you do have to occasionally, because you're literally the only destroyer on the team. And it's a center cap map. And then even though you're not technically capable of doing very much against the enemy destroyers at close range, you still have to get into the center. That's what the concealment is for. Commander skill-wise, no real big surprises here. I do have the air defense expert because, you know, why not? But I haven't wasted... I think you get... What was it? You get 3 charges, right? No, it's actually just 2 charges. So I haven't wasted the battlefield support on it. You could for a 3rd charge, but then honestly, you might shoot 1 or 2 more planes down. This is tier 10. You're not going to do an awful lot. It's not worth it. I still have the exploit weakness because, you know, you don't have a hydro. Obvious choice here is the Mistweaver. And I have actually put a captain with the APCS skill in just to test that out. But it doesn't make an awful lot of difference. If you have it or you don't have it, you get maybe 1 or 2 citadels in the game. The thing is, while this is funny and sort of feels good to citadel a Yamato, you have only a 150% citadel damage rate. So what are you going to do? Another 200-300 points of damage extra? So basically 1 semi-pen extra is what you get out of that. It's not worth it, really. It's not an awful lot. That said, there's nothing really else you can take, because you sure as hell don't want to take the IFHE on this thing. So yeah, there's really not an awful lot to say about this. It's not a super particularly valuable skill because of the relatively low bonus rate for this 150 millimeters. I have put the historical camo on because it's a tier 10, and I figured I'll give it a try just with that and see how that goes. This gives us extra range both on the torpedoes and on the mines and on the main guns, and it gives us a bit better maneuverability and surface detection as well, which is all very much appreciated. So I wasn't convinced with these scout cruisers so far. So let's see how the Elbing plays and if it's worth going down that line, in my personal opinion. In the first battle, we're playing Epicenter, which tends to be a bit of an issue in this ship, because like I said, at close range or even at mid-range, so anything below 8 kilometers, she's starting to be quite likely to over-penetrate enemy destroyers. At least there are no carriers, but obviously seeing Colombo and a Worcester in the enemy team is not a particularly good sign. So compared to a normal destroyer, these scout cruisers have a relatively singular purpose, which is be at long range and unleash armor piercing at enemy ships. Doesn't matter what you shoot at, ideally bigger things like cruisers. Cruisers are good targets, really. But even battleships will suffer from this 150 millimeter armor piercing spam at 10, 11 kilometers. And they can't do very much about it unless you're sitting still for Christopher Colombo to shoot at. That said, she somewhat can make herself useful against destroyers as well, but once again, you do have to keep your distance, which makes it always harder to hit them. And in this case, given that it's epicenter, well, what you have to do is get into the center cup, right? That's what I'm for. I do have a smoke, so unless I'm in radar range of that Worcester, I should be able to poke my nose in there at least and assist with the capture progress. Because that Shima doesn't look like he wants to go into the center cup. So I'm dropping some sea mines into that gap there just to see, on the off chance that somebody bumbles into them, because the enemy team is obviously coming the same direction that I'm coming. I do have a Khabarovsk with me, which is a similar setup like me, just probably even a bit more extreme still. It's a very strange experience too, and you kind of have to forget what you have learned. So there's daring, and at this range, I might be able to put the hurt on daring. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So the obviously keeping the island in between myself and just casually dodging some Shima torps from the left side there. That was more luck than anything, but yeah, that's what happens when the Italians get to shoot at you. And I got really lucky that I was in the turn, and the Colombo didn't get a good shot at me, because otherwise I would have been dead now. I have been one-shotted by Christopher Columbus in this thing. It's relatively straightforward if you're sitting still. So I don't want to hang around there. I'm just going to keep some long-distance pot shots at the daring, but yeah, do keep in mind that if you're getting into a close-range fight with one of those things, they out-DPM you, and you're over-penetrating them. So while I'm dodging some more incoming Italian unpleasantness there, don't get into a close-range fight with any other destroyers, because they will literally... Yeah, there's some Shima torps. That's why I'm stopping. There's daring again, so let's see what we can do about that guy. There we're over-penetrating again. So that's what's going to happen most of the time if you're doing this at close range. So as tempting as it is, usually you'd say with 150s, armor piercing against destroyers, high explosive against everything else, or weak spots. These 150s are kind of the inverse of that. So you want to use just the armor piercing. Just don't even think about using the HE. You just don't want to use the armor piercing at close range against destroyers. So just don't do that. Okay, Shima in the center. Yeah, this is going to be tricky to hold. Ow, yeah, there comes the Italian again. I told you that was an issue. This is an interesting spread from the daring, but I think these either run out or run into the island. Yeah, we should have been far away enough. Can't lob over the island, obviously. There's Shima coming out again, so more torpedoes in the water, so we need to go forward again. And you can, at these ranges, if you can hit destroyers, and the 150s are very precise, if you can hit them at these ranges, then you can do some decent amount of damage. But if they're enabling the WASD hacks and actually moving, and you get a 50-50 chance if they're zigging or zagging, and they zag when you thought they were zigging, then you're not going to do anything. So no one's been killed so far. This is all about cap control at this point. We are leading a little bit because we've been holding, but now the enemy team holds the inner two circles, which obviously puts us at a disadvantage. So I'm stopping my guns. And I'm just slowing down until my detection circle goes away, because there comes some more Italian unpleasantness my way, and I'm spotted again. So now I just have to wait until I'm unspotted. And there we go. And now I can push forward. Kaba is coming in as well, and Moscow has found his brave his bravery and is coming my... Oh, he couldn't even have seen me. He must have seen the cover, and this was meant for cover. Yeah, I'm relatively low on hit points at this stage, but we do need the center cup. So I'm going to sneak in there, maybe drop some torpedoes, but I absolutely cannot be spotted. So yeah, there's a Kronstadt over there. Let's drop some sea mines in his direction, and I'm just going to smoke up here. To return the favor a little bit to the Italian, because I also don't have anything else to shoot at while we're trying to capture the center spot here. And yeah, as you can see, I mean, if you're hitting the belt, you're obviously not going to do anything. But if you're hitting deck or superstructure, you don't necessarily need to weak point aim. You can, but you're going to do a decent amount of damage with these guns, even if you're not. So. My welcome here is expired. I need to get out again. Just taking somewhere trying to take somewhere health off the Shima. But we are once again holding the center cup, and if we can get a kill, I think we're going to need a kill. Honestly, now we should be okay as long as we can hold on to the center cup, and I'm not going to die to the Italian back there. Then I should be all right. So just dipping into the center cup and then dipping out again. And then trying to get undetected. There we go. Can help recapture the outer ring as well. So yeah, it's just a point. It's just a game of points. We seem to have sunk something. One of the enemy destroyers is dead. So at this stage, I think we've got a points lead. There's a Kronstadt, perfect target, right? So armor piercing against cruisers, even big ones, is gonna hurt. And the guns are very nice and precise, such that you can get all 6 shots on target at 10 kilometers relatively easily. Just make sure you don't get shot back in return, but look at the amount of damage I'm doing against that Kronstadt. So play this thing like you would a Moskva. There comes some more fire in. The Christopher Colombo does not have a single scratch on it. How do you play Battleship and there's not a scratch on your ship after 6 minutes into the game? Anyway, we've done our part here, I think, and well, we haven't done an awful lot of damage. We haven't sunk anything, but you do get the idea. And in something like a center cup map, you do need to be careful, really careful, that you're not getting yourself into gunfights with destroyers at close range, because they will outgun you, because you will overpenetrate, and the AG isn't worth it. And your primary target are cruisers, actually. This is a cruiser-killing scout cruiser destroyer thingy. But even battleships aren't safe, so you really can do... a lot of damage with these guns. It's mainly about the guns, unless the enemy team is completely stupid and runs into your sea mines. So the Shimakaze takes the MVP in this game. Let's see where we came in the team. Pretty much everybody should have about 300 points of team score, because the team has been inside the capture circle, not at the center, but close enough, really. And yeah, we haven't hit anything with torpedoes, but we still came second in the team, so not too shabby. Let's go once more. In the second battle, we're playing Domination. It's a carrier battle this time. We're up against the Bourgogne, Izumo, Seattle, Drake, Holland, and Jutland. So once again, Domination. Yes, I can get into the capture circle, but I don't want to get into a close-range brawl with destroyers, because my torpedoes do 50 knots. So less than a French destroyer on a good day. And my armor piercing is just going to overpenetrate. I want to fight things at long range, preferably things that can't dodge, and just AP spam those. So regardless, I'm still a destroyer. So, and I've got smoke screens. So I'll head over to C-Cup and we'll check what the enemy carrier is going to be up to. I've got a Sovietsky Soyuz with me, so if there are cruisers coming around this side, then I might be able to do something about them. Friendly carrier looks to be scouting in my direction, which is much appreciated always, or not. Or well, he has got fighters to do fightery things and capture enemy fighters, which doesn't seem to have worked. So, but he is dive bomber scouting a C-Cup, so we'll be. We've got some idea of what we're up against. So far, nothing spotted really. We've also got a cruiser coming down this way with me. And no one's capping so far, which is really surprising. Okay, we've one destroyer is over an A, and we've got a battleship over there. Yep, I'm on my way. Don't worry. I'll get in there. What's that? It's an Izumo. Yeah, so I might as well start shooting at that thing. There's a Seattle coming. That's unfortunate. Seattle's hurt, so smoke screen up. I just want to get into the capture circle such that I can cap. And I should be outside radar range of the Seattle. And look at the amount of damage that I'm going to do at this Izumo with these guns. It's just... the armor piercing is fun on this thing. It just really works, and that's the main purpose, right? That you have here. Just AP spam these things as you go. I'm gonna drop some sea mines on him just in case he's holding steady course, because there are coming some torpedoes, and the Seattle is now in range. So and it has been radaring me, so I do need to get out of here. But yeah, killing Seattles is actually something you might be capable of in this thing. If you're keeping your distance, because Seattle can't hit you at long range at all. And yeah, I can do a lot. I'm actually over penetrating the Seattle with these 150mm armor piercing. It's quite hilarious. So, Seattle obviously doing AA support as well, but we do want to get rid of this guy and see if we can get our capture circle back. Enemy team, friendly team is helping, so there's a battleship AP coming in. The Drake is firing at me as well, and the Seattle, but they're gonna have a devil of a time, and I've hit something, well, caused a flood at least. But looks like they might have Damakon that. So, oh, is it still ticking? Might still be ticking actually. Maybe we get a permaflood, that'd be nice. Yeah, seems to be still ticking. So once we're doing the same thing again, smoke screen up. The Seattle should just be out of radar range at this point. And drop some sea mines into his general direction, and just keep tickling him to death with these 150s. That's literally what these things are for. And against cruisers, they are really reasonably effective. Now, if you could just be so obliging, yes, turn right into my torpedo. How did you not know that there were torpedoes in the water? He did. Okay, so we've got the cap back. Seattle is dead, and that leaves Drake. So now we're going to start shooting at Drake again. There's still the Izumo back out there somewhere. But we'll get to him when we get to him. Right now I've got cruisers to shoot at. And yeah, these 150mm AP guns are just fun. Drake isn't looking my way. Drake does have torpedoes. And there is a destroyer in B cap, so I don't want to get too close to that thing. Just not because I'm super afraid, but okay, Drake's dead. Izumo next, but because I don't have any utility, and oh, no, the carrier has poking out. Yeah, there's the enemy Essex. Okay, yeah. I haven't looked at the DPS of the Halland, but he might be able to... He's on relatively low hit points, so we could take him on at some point. But right now I've got carrier to shoot at, so we'll do that preferably then. That's a bit too far, so let's keep going. And we'll drop some sea mines again, just in case. But carrier probably is going to be dead before he gets here, before these get there. Yeah, Audacious is taking him out. Okay, so Halland. If the Halland would hold still, this would be a lot easier, but it doesn't look like the Halland is willing to hold still, so these are going to miss. He is in a gunfight though with something over there. And we're going to make our way over. I still get some dive bombers dropped on myself, and we shot a plane down. 2 planes down actually, not too shabby, not too shabby. You see the defensive AA isn't really doing an awful lot. We're well ahead on points, and we're 2 kills ahead, so this is pretty decided, I'd say. But I'm still going to head into B Cup. You never know. Maybe some of my ships are really low health. Still going to head into B Cup, and there might be Halland torpedoes in the way. I can't tell. These are quick because I don't have any hydro. But the carrier might be able to respot him. And meanwhile, I'm just going to grab the cap for myself here. I still got 1 smoke if I need it. But I'm unspotted now, so Halland seems to have vacated and doesn't want to hang around, so I'm going to get B Cup sorted. There he is. I'm going to get some parting shots at him. Maybe he doesn't expect me from this range. This is your only saving grace. If they don't expect... there you go, he's turned again. If you don't expect the incoming fire, then at 10 kilometers, then you might be able to get some shots off. Okay, there's Bourgogne. So let's smoke up just in case. And yeah, just to shoot at this thing. Yeah, and you can citadel battleships with the plunging fire. Absolutely, that's perfectly what these guns are capable of. And I mean, you're not going to do an awful lot of damage. It just looks nice, right? You're like, oh, I did 900 damage with a single shot from a destroyer. Well, it's really just, most of the time you're doing 600 odd. It's really just more, for fun. Okay, so that's the Bourgogne dead. There was a destroyer on my left somewhere, and there's still that Halland around. We've got a minute to go, but we're 200 points ahead, and we're still 2 kills ahead, so that should work. A couple of blind shots out in the Halland, but I don't. If he knows I'm shooting at him, so there's no way I'm going to hit him from here. So there's the Jutland actually over there. So I might as well go and try and hit that thing. But yeah, Elbing. It's an interesting ship. It's different. It's really different. Yeah, you don't want to do that next to a Dmitry Donskoy. That hurts. It's different. It's not a destroyer. It plays sort of more like a cruiser, but also kind of not, because you're mostly ineffective against against enemy destroyers unless it's at long range. So you're really actually there for, it's an AP spammer. A long-range AP spammer. That's what that thing is for. And while it's interesting and fun, it's also a very singular purpose. So oftentimes you will find that you need to do something that would be better done in a real destroyer, but you are in this thing, so you quite can't. It's not a bad ship, so don't get me wrong. It's definitely not a bad ship, and it's fun to play in its own way. But just make sure you play it to its strength, and don't try to be a destroyer hunter, because you're not. If you're engaging destroyers at close range, you don't have the torpedo speed, you don't have the utility, and your armor piercing is going to mostly over penetrate. And even if it doesn't, if you do full armor piercing penetration, something like a Daring, for example, or Khabarovsk has a higher DPS than you. So just be aware while you have a larger hit point pool. And you're a big target for anything that's Italian and has got semi-armor piercing with your name on it. So be aware of these things. But yeah, that's the Elbing. Personally, don't know. But if you like this sort of playstyle and a long-range playstyle, if you like Soviet destroyers, then this probably would work for you. So there you go. That's it for today. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.